Welcome to the next video. In this video, I want to show you what the tool isort is about. And isort is a tool that will automatically order your imports. So we saw in the PEP8 videos that the PEP8 guideline states that there are several blocks of imports. So at first, the standard library, then third-party imports, and then first-party imports. And if you are working on a legacy code base where the PEP8 guidelines weren't satisfied, and you want to refactor your code to be more compliant with PEP8, you can use isort as a tool that will sort your imports without any kind of work that you have to do on yourself. So the tool will sort the imports on its own. And isort is a tool, again, that is open source from the Python Code Quality Authority, which has an open GitHub repository, so pycqa/isort. And here I'm on the official documentation side of isort, and I want to show you how you can use isort. So isort is also already installed via the requirements.txt file we installed in the first chapter. But you can also install or upgrade it via pip. So when we go to the part using isort, we can see we just call in the terminal isort, then we can list the Python file, we can list multiple Python files, we can also list a whole directory, so we can say isort dot, and then isort will run on every Python file in the current directory, for example. And if we do not want to modify the current file and we just want to see what isort would modify in the file, we could use the --diff argument. This I can show at first. So I'm here in the predefined Python file. So we have several imports from third-party packages like pandas and numpy. We have imports from a first-party package that I call mylib, and we have imports from the standard library with OS and sys, and I have an additional import category, which is the future imports. To be precise, the future imports are imports from the standard library, but it is more convenient to have an own category for these future imports. I will show you in a moment. So I open the terminal. I will go to the current directory, so chapter 2 with the PEP8 directory, and here I can run isort, then test_isort.py, and then --diff, and here I will get the differences in the terminal. So the file itself isn't touched yet, so we just get the differences in the console output. And here we would see what lines would be changed. For example, the first line where from .mylib import object 3 is stated, this would be removed and would be added. Let me check here at the end, at the last section of our code, where the first party imports should be. And the first block here would be the future import. Then we would have the standard library import, then the third party import, and then the first party imports, as I said. So if I want to modify the file, I can just remove the --diff, and the file would be updated. And we see the first part is the future import, then standard library, third party, and first party. And here we see a little issue because sometimes isort isn't that smart as it could be, maybe. And here isort hasn't come to the conclusion that Pylint is a third-party tool, and hence it put it as default to the first party. So you can set in the config file, which I will show you in a moment, which import section will be the default case if isort can't specify, for example, if Pylint is a third-party import, for example. So the correct way would be, Pylint is a third-party import, and this would be the correct import blocks. Also, isort will add 2 blank lines after the import block. So this would, or Flake 8 would complain about it if we don't have 2 blank lines, as you saw in the last video. And isort will fix this for us. And this would be the output of isort. And now we configure isort. So if you go back to the documentation, if I now go here to configurations and to config files, we can see that isort is per default searching for an .isort.cfg file, and we can create this file. So I go back to our project, I create a .isort.cfg file, and here we can list all the settings for isort. If we type in the terminal isort --help, we see all the settings we have, and it's kind of a lot of settings again. If I go to my configs folder here, I prepared a config file and I can enter it here. So we can configure, for example, the maximum line length that is allowed for imports. That is only important if we have multiple imports in one line, which I do not recommend, as I said in the PEP 8 videos. Then we can specify how many blank lines are after the import blocks. We can define the import blocks, which are called sections here. So we have the future imports, the standard library imports, third-party imports, first-party imports, and local folder imports. So in the PEP 8 guidelines itself, there were 3 categories, and isort splits it up a bit more into 5 categories. So this was a part of PEP 8. And now we have the separation of the standard library into standard library and future imports, for example. And first party is splitted here into first party and local folder. At the default section entry, we can define where isort should put imports where isort couldn't figure out, is it a third party import, is it a first party import, etc. So per default, I say, okay, put it in the local folder. I mean, if I run isort and I see, okay, the output of isort isn't completely correct, I can correct it by myself. But most times isort is smart enough to check this. Also, you can add, for example, known third-party and known first-party packages here, separated by commas. So we can add Pylint here, and now isort should be smart enough to see that Pylint is a third-party import. So if I run isort again on this file here, we will see Pylint is now in the section of the third-party import. So if isort has some issues of identifying packages as third-party imports or first-party imports, you can list them here. Then the last entry here is the multi-line output, which sets the style here. So for example, the style 3 would be that we could have multiple imports in a line until the line length is below 80 characters, as we defined here. And there are now different multiple line output styles, and I will show you which style we will use in the course. So I go back to the main page, then I scroll down a bit, and we will see in a moment the different multi-line output modes. You can choose your favorite output mode. I will use kind of none of these modes because you can also set the setting force single line to true, and then isort will use only one import per line. So I can let this multi-line output equals to 3, and then force single line equals true, for example. So force single line, let me check if I spelled it correct, force single line to true. And if I undo the changes and run isort again, we will see our imports here that were in one line. So previously, if I comment this out and run isort, the imports were in one line. If this is okay to you, you can use this style. This would be multi-line output 3, or you can choose any of these other output styles. But if you want to use this, one import per line style, you can just set force single line equals true, and then you could remove the multi-line output. So if I rerun it again, I see we have just one import per line, and this is, in my opinion, the easiest way to manage large code bases. In my opinion, you can see it here more easily, and it's a better way to structure your code. But you can use any output mode here that is available in isort. So you have in total, let me check, 12 different modes that you can use, which is kind of a lot. Okay, this is the config file. You can add some more configurations. You can add all configurations that are listed here in the help tool. You can look up the different values for these in the official documentation. You could also set the Python version that you are using. If you are using a Conda environment, you can list the Conda environment such that isort is more able to see what third-party packages you have. So you might just add your Conda environment, or if you are using a virtual environment, you can just list here your virtual environment such that isort can check for your installed third-party packages. And to wrap it up, in new code bases, if you just type in your imports correct regarding to the PEP 8 guidelines, you may not need isort. Isort is more or less a tool for legacy code bases where you want to update your code regarding the PEP 8 guidelines to make the code compliant to them. But also in new projects, you might do your imports not correct to the PEP 8 guidelines, so you can just run on also new code bases isort and see if there are any issues regarding your imports. Okay, then we will see us in the next video. Bye bye.